Now, me personally, I am not surprised that the Chicago Bears have performed in some ways like they have in 2014. I knew heading into this season that this team was overaged, overpaid, overrated, and overhyped, and was ultimately going to disappoint and be lucky, frankly, to win 6 football games. So while I'm not surprised, though, I'm still incredibly disappointed and oh so frustrated. And I'm really losing patience as a fan with this organization, with this football team. When I was 4 years old, they won Super Bowl 20. When I was 25 years old, they lost Super Bowl 41. I don't want to be 46 years old the next time that this damn team gets something right and makes it back to the Super Bowl. And for so much of my life as a Bears fan, for basically 3 decades now, it's been a lot of mediocre, bad, crappy football. Lousy excuses, lousy coaches, lousy players, and lousy seasons year after year. That's just the way that it is. And when it comes to the Chicago Bears in 2014, I personally can't think again of a team that I maybe have ever been more embarrassed and ashamed of than this year's Chicago Bears. It's not just that they're losing, it's the fact that they're getting dominated, and it's the fact that they're not getting dominated because they are an inferior team in terms of talent. It's the fact that they're getting dominated because they flat out aren't trying hard. They flat out aren't playing hard. They flat out aren't showing up to play. They're not even being professionals. It's that simple. And my frustrations run deep with this team and its players in particular. It seems like this team is more interested this year fighting amongst themselves and fighting against the media and the fans via social media, etc., than fighting hard to win games and fighting hard to play hard against other teams. So that is very, very frustrating. And, one player that epitomizes this in a lot of ways to me is Brandon Marshall. Now, I've always thought Brandon Marshall was a bit of a toolbox. So he was a bit of a mental case. You could sit there and talk about his borderline personality disorder, what have you, blah, blah, blah. And I don't sit there and say this to diminish the fact that he had a condition or anything else like that. But that still doesn't mean that as an individual, he isn't a toolbox in general. That's always kind of the way I looked at Brandon Marshall. Now, with that said, though, because I'm a Bears fan that's been tired of so many years of crappy offensive play and etc., I was very pleased when the Bears traded for Brandon Marshall before the 2012 season. I'm like, the price tag wasn't that much. It's worth the roll of the dice. Now Cutler has a weapon that he's familiar with. You got a big time number one type of wide receiver. This is a good thing. You could deal with some of the other crap because this guy brings a lot to the table for the Bears at a very affordable price tag. And for the most part, Brandon Marshall, has been a godsend for the Bears organization the past 2+ seasons. And, you know, I've been a very big fan in general of the way Brandon Marshall has conducted and carried himself both on and off the football field over the past 2 years as a representative of the Chicago Bears organization. I think he's been in some ways a leader. I think he has usually brought his A game to the table. I've always felt that he's played hard even when other players have not. I feel like he's been a player that has set a positive example for others in terms of play on the field. There's a lot to like about Brandon Marshall as a Chicago Bear is what I'm saying. Flat out. A number one wide receiver, no question in my mind about it. But as we get into the 2014 season and as it gets underway, Brandon Marshall's act starting to wear thin a little bit with me. You get the reports of him calling out teammates in the locker room, and it wasn't exactly like he's been playing all that hard, over the past few weeks. So who the fuck is he to sit there and call people out? Which is sad because this is the guy in the San Francisco game that on a bum leg made huge plays that helped the Bears win a game they had no business winning. That at that point in time, frankly, saved their season. But he's been very lifeless on the field in recent weeks. He has largely disappeared. And I think it's one of these things where anybody can open their mouth and bitch about anything, but who's actually going to do something about it? And I was hoping that Brandon Marshall had matured enough as a player and as a leader to actually be the guy that not only would he maybe just say something about it, but he would actually lead by example and actually do something about it to help positively affect a change in the situation for the Chicago Bears in 2014. And that just hasn't happened. He's contributed to the problem, yet brings no solutions to the table whatsoever. Earlier on in the season, he's bitching about the E60 report, and it's always something with this guy. It always seems to be a problem. And now I see this week that Brandon Marshall is challenging a fan on Twitter to a fight. Now look, I realize that fans are idiots. I realize that these players see a lot of shit, and a lot of shit, frankly, that they don't deserve to see. And frankly, sometimes some of these fans probably deserve it. But again, who's the bigger loser? The fan that's giving the player shit? Or the player that seems to get so bothered by it that he wants to get slick about it that he's challenging people to a fucking fight? I don't care what type of spin you want to put on that, or what type of spin you want to put on your reasoning behind that. That is an incredibly bum-ass, loser-ass thing to do that Brandon Marshall did. Period. Point blank. Of all the fucking things in the universe of Brandon Marshall right now, on all the things in the universe of the Chicago Bears organization right now, why is Brandon Marshall worried about anything that any fucking fan is saying on Twitter? Why is anybody involved with that Bears organization taking to social media at all? Clearly, you guys need to hit your fucking playbooks harder. Clearly, you guys need to practice harder. And clearly, you guys need to figure out how to get your heads out of your asses and stop playing like lazy, bum, don't give a shit jackasses the rest of 2014. But instead, he's picking a fight with some goddamn douchebag Lions fan on Twitter. The fuck is wrong with Brandon Marshall? I'll tell you what it is. He's a fucking moron. Maybe Brandon Marshall got confused. Maybe Brandon Marshall thought that this Lions fan was a female. And we know Brandon Marshall has a long-established, proud history of smacking him some women. It's a favorite pastime of his. But you would think, in a period of time where the NFL's gotten a lot of shit, rightfully so, about domestic violence and their players engaging in this bad behavior, this horrible, reprehensible behavior. You would think that you would be totally opposed to one of your players calling out a fan to fight, no matter what the circumstance or reason behind it, on Twitter. Brandon Marshall, you're a fucking moron. Don't you think your fists have gotten you in enough trouble over the fucking years? Don't you think you have better things to do at this point in time than being part of a crappy-ass, lazy, bum-ass, don't give a shit 3-6 football team? Don't you think you have better things to worry about than challenging fans to a fucking fight on social media? It's bad enough when you got Lamar Houston tweeting dumb shit and then going out there and tearing up his knee in a freaking sack celebration in the fourth quarter when your team's down more than 20 points. It's enough when you got idiots like Kyle Long saying the fans shouldn't be booing and blah, blah, blah. When you play like this, you deserve to get fucking booed. You don't like it, you crybaby bitches. Do something about it positive on the football field. At least play hard and, by God, maybe try and win another fucking football game this year. But it takes a special type of moron to sit there and be calling out fans on Twitter. Not just calling them out, but challenging them to a fight. I'm done with this douchebag. Get him the fuck out of Chicago. Because clearly he's a part of the problem. He's not a part of the solution. This is a moronic, idiotic thing to do. And frankly, I'm disappointed at this point in time that the Chicago Bears organization and or the NFL hasn't stepped in and said, you know what, that's not the type of behavior we're going to condone, especially from you, Brandon Marshall, who has a proud, long history of using his fisticles to sit there and smash women's faces in. We don't need you. Go sit your ass down. We're suspending you for a couple of games, if not the rest of the damn season. Enough is enough with this bullshit. What a complete fucking moron. A guy who's been given multiple second chances and seemed to finally figure some things out and get himself set on the straight and narrow. You'd think the last thing Brandon Marshall would want to do at this point is in any way, shape, or form associate himself with violence of any fucking kind. Especially when this so-called alleged elite offense of the Chicago Bears has failed to impress at any point in time this year. You assholes haven't scored 30 points in a single damn game all year. And where the hell have you been the past 3 games? Must be on the sidelines checking your damn Twitter feed, seeing what asshat fans you can challenge to fucking fist fights. Brandon Marshall is a moron. And the quicker this moron and a lot of the other morons in the Chicago Bears team is out of town, a much happier Bears fan I will be. Give me a fucking break. I thought people like me needed to get a life. Now when I see social media and the dangers of social media for these athletes and celebrities, you realize who the people are that really need to get the lives. Challenging a fucking Lions fan to a fight on Twitter. Why? What a moron.